Recently, I set myself the challenge of building a TARDIS interior using almost only blocks from the latest version of Minecraft. So today I thought I'd try the opposite. I'm going to attempt to build a decent looking TARDIS interior in version 1.0 of Minecraft in just 90 minutes, and I have no idea how it's going to turn out, so we'll just have to see how it goes. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoy the video, as we're approaching 5,000, which is absolutely mental. And with that out of the way, the time starts now. Oh, and just pretend I've got my normal skin. For some reason, skins don't work in this version. Anyway, just like last time, we're starting with a really simple door, which I've just made out of snow blocks, and basically whatever else I could find. These are the only signs we've got. This is pretty much the only lighting we've got. In fact, displayed on this screen right here is pretty much everything we've got to work with. There's a few ores and stuff we could use. There's a few other colors of wool, but pretty much everything else in this inventory are just items and stuff. So there really isn't a lot to work with. Now, straight away, what I was thinking is trying to do something a bit futuristic, or at least like quite geometric, to contrast what we did in the 1.21 video, which was very rustic and sort of a bit almost steampunky, I guess. But straight away I'm seeing a bit of an issue. The only white blocks I can see is a block of iron, snow, and wool. I thought for sure we'd have quartz in this version. I know there's nether bricks, so the nether definitely exists. Did quartz just not exist yet? Okay, that's going to be a bit of a problem. You know what, the more I'm looking at this, I don't think I'm going to be able to decide on a style straight away. I think I'm just going to have to get something really simple to start with, and we'll just see where it goes. Okay, I'm just going to start with some cobblestone, and we're going to go for a bit of a circle this time. I'm just going to go with a pretty average shape. Oh, I can already tell this is far too big. I'm going to have to rein this in a little bit. Oh my gosh, I've just noticed there's no sprint. I was only just getting used to the weird controls in this version. My sensitivity feels all off, but I've just noticed there's no sprint. That's going to be an issue. Oh my gosh, and there's no pick block. I'm trying to middle click to get the snow block and I can't. So I'm going to have to go into inventory every time. Oh my gosh, why have I done this to myself? Anyway, we've got a pretty basic circle here. I think this is an alright size. It's quite big, but I don't have to fill all of the space. Oh my gosh, you can't place logs sideways. Oh no. Oh, that's actually really scuppered my plans. Okay, I'm gonna have to think on the spot here. Okay, you can place pistons sideways. That's good to know, I think. I mean, I'm not quite sure what I can do with this information. Maybe we do go a bit steampunk and do something a bit mechanical looking. Okay, just bear with me here. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm trying my best. Also, I have to actually manually sleep in a bed to skip the night in this version because there's no commands or anything. Oh, I'm actually losing my mind. You can't even place slabs on the top half of blocks. Does that mean you can't... Oh no. I have to be honest, I didn't think the slabs and stuff would be the main restrictions here. I assumed it would be sort of the blocks I have at my disposal, but this is going to prove to be a real issue. Currently what I'm struggling with is working out how to power some of these pistons without it just looking awful. So I can place a lever there and it'll power that one, but obviously on this side I've got to do something else. Maybe I was going too fancy. Maybe we just need to revert to some good old fence posts. I think this is okay, at least for now. I debated swapping out these fences for iron bars or some glass panes or something, but I think it actually looks alright as wood for now. Alright, my plan for the middle is a sort of diagonal shape, if I can pull it off, or at least sort of diagonals on the edges. And I'm going to start by outlining with some black wool. And I can't shift click on the side of trapdoors. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I had in mind. That's actually not too bad. I quite like that there's a bit of a dip. I think it creates quite a cool effect. Okay, I've actually swapped out the black wool for something that more resembled the walkway we had here with sort of the stone bricks and the smooth stone and stuff. And then I realized we needed a contrasting color, so I've added some sandstone. I think it's an improvement. I've then also gone ahead and experimented with some glass and sort of iron bars on top. I'm trying to make it look a little bit like a grate. I initially tried trapdoors, but obviously you can only place trapdoors on the bottom half of blocks. You can't place them on the top half. So I've had to settle for something that looks like this. And I think I like it. I might actually swap some of these out for some light sources because it's getting pretty dark. And of course the only light source we've got is glowstone, so it's gonna have to do. I have also discovered that you can actually middle click to pick a block provided that the block is already in your hotbar, which does make my my life a little bit easier, although it's still a little bit of a pain. Okay, so this is what I've got so far. I've attempted to texture the sandstone with some sand. That's about all I could do. I've added some wood up here for a little bit of contrast, and obviously we'll put the console here in a second. And then I've sort of reintroduced the stone aspect of it at the top here as well. I think it definitely needs some pillars or something on this platform to break it up a little bit. But for now, I'm going to focus on getting a console in place. And on second thought, I actually might turn these into full blocks, just so we've got a bit more space to work with the console. And that also means we can reintroduce these mossy and cracked variants which don't have slabs. And with that, we are officially half an hour in, and I think we're making decent progress, to be honest. Okay, I've just realized a serious issue with the console. Not only can I not place upside down stairs, I can't place slabs on the top half of blocks, so this console, I guess, is going to be a full block one. To be honest, the console decoration isn't fantastic, but that's not my main concern. I think the note blocks here actually look pretty good. So now I'm going to turn my attention to the entire rest of the TARDIS, and we're going to start by getting some of these walkways in on the other sides. That's one done, that's the second one done, and that's all of them in place. And I think I now need to turn my attention to the walls, because they are looking pretty dire. Okay, so for the walls, I definitely want to reintroduce the lighter sandstone tones that we had over by the console, and I'm going to attempt to do a really small gradient with some endstone going into some sandstone going into some sand. And we're just going to see how it goes. I'm also going to use some grey wool to kind of contrast it a little bit, because that darker tone that we haven't used yet, I think it will look pretty good. You just got to give me a second. You know what? It's not perfect, but for a 3-block gradient, I'm actually pretty happy with this. And what's great is, even though we're still trying to go for that angular sort of geometric look, even though I've kind of ruined it doing a massive circle, I think I can get away with doing a relatively flat roof. I actually might attempt to incorporate some of those other shapes with this roof, but I'm actually going to leave the roof for now, because worst case we can just leave it like this. I'm more concerned about the floor, because I don't want to be able to see any of this grass underneath, so I need to work out a way to curve this in, I guess. And I actually think I'm going to go back to the stone bricks here. I think that's what makes the most sense. However, I think I'm going to leave out the mossy and just go for the cobblestone with a bit of that grey wool in there. Maybe some furnaces if I can work out how to use the texture of them. And yeah, we're going to see how it goes. Okay, I quickly realised that texturing this is a bit of a pain, so I'm going to just do full stone bricks for now, and if we have time we can go back and texture. And I've sort of leaned into that geometric aspect a little bit and introduced some sharp diagonal corners. I think that helps to sort of reflect the bit we've got going on in the middle, and it's easier from a building perspective. So I think I'm going to go underneath the console now and see what I can do. I've gone for this sort of dip thing where it goes a little bit under and then comes back up to the main console. I also really like that you can still see under the platforms. It makes them look like they're sort of hovering, I guess, and not completely on the floor. I think that's a nice little detail that's really helped by this sort of divot that I've got going on here. I think some texturing here, though, will go a really long way, and I do think I have time, so I'm going to try and attempt that now. And we're down to our final half an hour. Okay. Yeah, I think that texturing's definitely gone a long way. It looks way, way better now. I've incorporated the top of furnaces over here, which I think looks pretty good. And you'll also notice I've got some pistons, which do stick out a lot, but I've actually got a plan for these things. So we need to head underneath and power them, and I've already forgotten how you do that. Okay, it's a bit strange. I've sort of got to place a block and then a lever on the block so that it powers the piston. This is going to take a second. Oh, and I have just realized that I placed glass here, and you can actually see down from there. So what I might do is surround it with furnaces, just because I like that sort of side texture of the furnace. I think that will look okay, actually. Yeah, I mean, you can barely see it, but I think that looks pretty good. Anyway, my plan for these pistons is for them to be the base of sort of a pillar kind of design. And just looking at this, I actually think they need to be 1 block higher. Okay, that was kind of a pain to fix, but yeah, I think that's definitely worth it. That's more what I was looking for. And then I think I just use some logs here. I don't want them to be too tall, but I do want them to stand out a bit, and I want them the same sort of style as the console. So I think we go note blocks on top of here. And then obviously our choices of actual lighting is fairly limited. So I think I'm literally going to go with torches. Okay, apparently you can't place torches on note blocks, so I think I'm going to actually reverse this. Have the note block at the bottom and then have the torch at the top. I think that will still look okay. I mean, it looks a little bit ritualistic, but what can you do? Oh, that's brilliant. I've just discovered that if you replace these with jukeboxes, you can actually interact with the side of them. You can place stuff on it. That is so, so helpful. Yeah, to be honest, I think this is okay. I mean, it is a little bit strange fact that a piston like this can support all this weight, but we're just going to let it slide. It is Minecraft after all. And I've just realised that my discovery with the jukeboxes means I can decorate the console a bit more. Look at that. I think I'm going to do a bit of a version of this pillar design over here on the walls to sort of split them up. I think that should look pretty decent. Yeah, I think that works alright as a pillar design. I've also decided to change up the pillars in the middle a little bit. I've just halved the number of torches because I think it was a little bit in your face. And this is actually coming along quite nicely. I don't want to overdo it with these pillars, but I do think we could do some either side of these soon-to-be corridor entrances and maybe either side of the door as well. So in other words, I don't want to overdo it, but I am going to add 8 more of them. Yeah, I think that looks alright. I mean, I'm sort of losing the geometrical style that I wanted to go for, but we've only got about 10 minutes left and I've not got a roof, which I feel like is quite important, but I'm going to be honest, I'm going to leave it and focus on these corridor entrances. Because I think worst case, we can just leave the roof looking like this if we need to. I think I'm actually going to introduce a little bit of our brick here. We used it on the pillars, but we haven't used it anywhere else, so I think using it here will tie it together quite nicely. Look, before you judge me, just remember that I'm doing this without upside down stairs and top half slabs, but I think I've done a decent job here, to be honest. Alright, I think that looks pretty decent. One thing I am conscious of is that while the build itself is okay, it looks very lifeless, so that's something I'm going to try and fix, but I think I've got to focus on this roof. I mean, I don't really want to leave it completely open if I can avoid it. You know what? I did a bit of a basic outline just to get a feel for it, and I actually quite like this, so I think I might just flesh this out and not bother filling in the rest. And I think I'm going to use my trusty stone slabs and just outline everything we've got so far. Plus, I think it looks kind of cool with these double slabs. It sort of goes back to that geometric, futuristic kind of look I was going for in the first place. Oh my gosh, okay, I think I finished the outline. I've got about 2.5 minutes left. Yeah, I actually think that looks pretty cool in here now. The final thing I'm going to experiment with is adding some leaves around. I say experiment, but they're staying in regardless, so I hope they look good, which I think they do. Leaves definitely helped with the 1.21 TARDIS that I did not that long ago, so I think this is a good call. Okay, we've got about 45 seconds left. I've also added some leaves drooping from the top, because I think that looks pretty good. I don't want to go too overkill, although I feel like I kind of already have. Actually, you know what? That looks pretty good. I also think it still looks pretty lifeless here. So in the last sort of 20 seconds, I'm just going to add a few bookshelves around the place, almost randomly placed along the back wall, I think. I think that would definitely help. Oh my gosh, I've got to do this in 10 seconds. And 3, 2, 1, and that is time. And do you know what? I actually think this is pretty good. I think it's quite messy. There's a lot going on here. I think I tried to do a lot at once. I initially tried to do that sort of futuristic geometric thing, which I quickly realized wasn't really going to work. So I opted for a more rustic feel, but then I was like, no, actually maybe we could still do the futuristic. And I've ended up with sort of a weird blend of the two. I actually don't mind it though. I think the leaves and the bookshelves did a lot in terms of making it come alive. It feels a lot more full now, for better or for worse. I think this roof was actually a really good last minute addition. It looks very, very cool from the top. And while you're in there, it looks pretty good as well. I actually don't mind seeing the sky through it. I think it adds some nice sort of color, I guess, with the blue. And yeah, speaking of color, the bookshelves definitely help with that. You've got the little like reds and blues and greens and stuff in an otherwise relatively bland interior. But yeah, overall, I'd say I've done a pretty decent job with this. So there you go. This is my attempt at building a TARDIS using only blocks from the very first version of Minecraft. To be honest, it was actually more of a challenge getting used to the controls and stuff in this early version of Minecraft than it was being restricted by the blocks. But yeah, overall, I've had a really, really good time with this. I'd highly recommend you try this challenge for yourself if you've got the Java version of Minecraft. If you do, feel free to share a screenshot of your build in my Discord server. There is a link to that in the description. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like or comment. If you'd like to see more content like this, then please subscribe. But I've been DT10, and I will see you in the next video.